Hello.
Hiya, all right.
Hiya, how you doing? I'm so sorry about yesterday and today just being a few minutes late. It's been
No problem at all. Better late than not at all. I'm really delighted to be able to speak to you about your film. Forgive me, just before we start. Is it Jolyon? How am I pronouncing your name?
no,
Before I
it's
butcher
Jolyon.
it.
It's Jolyon. Yeah,
Jolyon.
Jolyon. Yeah,
Okay.
it's an odd one. I mean, 99% of people don't get it right, and I just go with the flow. But I've been called
I had a feeling I'd be amongst those people to get it wrong. So thanks, Jolyon.
Joe Lion does sound pretty cool, though.
It's pretty cool. Well, Jolyon, thank you so much again for joining me and to discuss your film, like I said, which is the opening film in, so it kicks everything off for
Wow.
Short Focus Film Festival. So it's the very first film in Programme 1 on the Saturday the 18th, and it shows at Close Up Cinema. It's also screening for the entire week as well, online in Programme 1 as well. For those who are about to see it, can you just summarize a little bit about what your film is?
Sure. So it's someone who basically is trying to cancel their broadband, and they come up against someone who has something on them that might prevent them from doing so. Simple premise, just something we're all kind of sure relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very simple and very relatable, very funny premise, and works extremely well. As someone who's done my fair share of call center work, I think the film is really brilliantly observed and depicts both sides of the customer service transaction with exacting detail. Does the film draw from your own experience in any way?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it was when we were sort of stuck during lockdown and stuff, like, we all needed better internet, we all needed better things, and I went to try and cancel stuff and try and get new upgrades and all this, and I ended up feel like I was talking to robots half the time, and if not, they would sort of constantly disregard anything I say and just come up with going, well, would you like this deal? And I'm like, no, I just told you there's not a better deal. It's not available. And I just felt like I was having this sort of one-way conversation.
Yeah.
And then I think I saw an article at the time about how I think it was some providers are basically putting restrictions onto people's searches, so that basically I think at Virgin or something like that, they basically stop people looking at explicit content, and it's a full black ban. And I was like, wow, that's quite interesting that that these guys are having that much control. And then I think I joined the dots together of my frustrations with the call, and I was like, well, hang on a minute, they potentially can see what we're looking at, and they might be able to use that to sort of keep hold of you as a customer. So yeah.
It's the really small details for me that really convey that process as being really excruciating. I think for both parties as well in the film. There's the customer, John, battling with automated options after a grueling wait, fluffing the phonetic alphabet, or just struggling with the logic of the service. And then, of course, there's Hayley, the expert sales agent, who you get the impression has dealt with every single customer type imaginable for far too long. She has several Employee of the Month awards to her name. Do you see the characters as being equally sympathetic or insufferable?
Yeah, it was funny. It was like, well, when I wrote the script, I was actually kind of playing around with who's going to be the villain and who's going to be the hero. And, part of me was thinking that, you wanted to side with John, you wanted to feel his frustration, but then equally you wanted to make him feel that he had been up to things he shouldn't have been, or he had been sort of thing. And so he kind of, like, the switch of hero and villain throughout felt like it wasn't just as like, oh, one is definitely the hero and one is definitely the villain. I think that actually came out more so in filming and the edit, when we sort of started piecing things together, is actually in a very early iteration of it as an edit. John was very dislikable in the first few minutes, because he was almost being quite aggressive from the get-go, and sort of, you know, seeing it and sort of seeing the sort of feedback from that, it became clear that you needed to be on his side. You need to really get that frustration and be on and be like, okay, I know this, I've been there, I know this guy, and then you wanted to then, you know, go, oh, Hayley, she's trouble, she's that person you're going to instantly dislike. And then by the end, I kind of think like, I like the fact that it's not quite like, in the end, you don't really sympathize with John that much. You kind of lean towards that. Oh, Hayley's a badass. Like, yeah, pretty cool. Like, she's smashing it, and she's playing the game.
Yeah.
So there was part of that I really liked, the kind of switching the roles. Like, it was very. There was probably a sort of slightly grand ambition with this initially, was I love the idea of doing this kind of split screen that sort of went like almost like a power scale of things, and it kind of split accordingly. It became a mess and got in the way of the storyline, but there was this idea, this shift of power felt like a really important like theme, that it could like sort of, 1 minute he's holding all the cards, next minute she's got the power, next minute it feels like him. And I really like that kind of, that almost pendulum of going up and down.
Yeah. I do love that too. I mean, and you do get a sense of that, you know, that the power is shifting between them. He's definitely on the front foot from the beginning, you know, when he's had to kind of go through all of these hurdles just to get to speak to someone, that he feels that the power's in his hands. And then all of a sudden, just in, you know, the sort of in a split second, it all comes crumbling down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On the surface, the film is only about two people, but there are the very crucial but much smaller parts of John's wife, and also the automated voice, that add an extra layer of complexity to proceedings. Could you expand on those characters and how you think they affect the story?
Yeah, so I think it's funny actually, like John's wife, I think is actually quite a crucial part to this, because without her, the whole sort of thing kind of, you again, there's no sort of tension, because he's not, you're like, well, okay, he's just a guy, he can do what he wants. But when you know he's got a wife and he's got that kind of those responsibilities and those things, and that sort of I would say like alliance or allegiances with his wife, you know, then that tension really builds, and you understand that actually he's got a lot to lose. And I think she played just a very subtle, small role, but equally it's essential in sort of, you know, you go, okay, this isn't just like, you know, somebody said when we were first sort of in the script format, they said, could you have made it about that he was actually into homosexual porn, or he was into something else? And actually my head was going, hang on, the subtleties of this is that it's more relatable, it's more everyday, and the tension only becomes high when she gets involved, because you go, okay, he's got a wife, he's got a family, this is something that and then when the moment strikes, he's like, okay, what do you want? It's like that moment for me is like the moment where it goes, okay, he is ashamed of what he's been doing. He wouldn't want to tell his wife. And I think that's where
jeopardy, isn't there, that she sort of adds to it. And it really sort of adds almost a sense of horror to it. Actually, in terms of that, Dominic White's score is fantastic. It's very minimal, you know, jagged violins that add a horror aspect to the film to match, I suppose, Hayley's very sinister characterization, but also the sense of dread that John feels in that moment. Was it your intention from the start to suggest horror tropes with the music, or was it something that perhaps came about further into the filmmaking process?
So, like, truthfully, like, I'm a huge Yorgos Lanthimos fan, like that kind of Greek kind of, I don't know what exactly the sort of the genre is, but it's that kind of, that, I don't know, that chilling sort of awkwardness that those Greek sort of films get across. And I really, really, you know, the sort of awkwardness you get in like The Lobster and some of those films really resonate with me. And then the score that's on those it's almost like it's not just haunting, it has this kind of, for me, it kind of the thing that kind of like it just makes everything feel so poignant, even the smallest thing. And I loved about this was even though it's minimal, everything feels quite grandiose and quite big, even though this is just a guy in his kitchen just talking on the phone. And I think it elevated that. And I think, yeah, in terms of it, I always had in my head that that's kind of what I wanted. And I wanted that kind of element of, we did at one point for sure, we did have a kind of an ominous what's it called, like music, phone music that was playing that we all remember. But something was quite nice about taking that out. We actually had it on set as well when we were filming, and it was kind of this kind of like almost sort of like mind-numbingly sort of cliche, cheesy sort of track that you always hear on the phone. And actually we took it out and we just went this sort of the silence, the awkwardness, and this sort of minimal sort of composition moments that felt like they really kind of sort of elevated what is a very simple, straightforward kitchen.
It's great. I mean, the music, it really kind of encapsulates that sort of the terror that you get sometimes just from the really banal kind of minutiae of everyday life, the things that, maybe sometimes we overlook and think and we take for granted and everyone has in common. But actually, when you sort of just boil it down to, their essential kind of details, it can just be terrifying or excruciating or extremely awkward. And I think, the music really brings that sense about really well. You have a rich background in commercial filmmaking, as I understand, having worked on projects for Nike, for Channel 4's Paralympics, and even Lurpak, as well as music videos as well. Do you have any preference for a particular medium or form?
It's a good question. So actually, the end of last year, so we've been going for about 10 months, I actually started my own advertising production company. And the whole point of it was to do everything. We're called 10 Days London, and we literally do what the big ad agencies do in like 2 or 3 months. We do it in 10 days from start to finish, like writing the script, making the video and everything. And it's been taking all those learnings from these big projects and going, how do we just get on and make stuff? And I think, when we talk about the medium, for me, I don't really mind whether I'm making a short music or, whatever. I just want to make stuff, like, being on set, shooting, there's nothing better. And there's like, it's you're learning, you're honing your skills, but equally it's just, that's for the fun of it. Like for me anyway, I just want to get on and do stuff. So, this is my first and only short so far, so I definitely want to do more, and we were sort of looking to do one in the next month or so, which is terrifying, and I'm running out of time, but it's kind of, I definitely feel like all the skills I've got from working in the industry, that kind of ad concepts and stuff like that, they're very much, I can do them, and I can hopefully do them to a good level. And I think I've got a lot to learn, definitely in the sort of short world and stuff like that. But I think, the dream is definitely just want to make features, make more shorts, love to make a sort of short series, and the narrative stuff really excites me, the character building, the things like that, the stuff that actually you don't really get time to do in ads, like that stuff really, really does excite me. So yeah, hoping to get a few more shorts under my belt.
Excellent. I mean, it's great just to see your joy and passion for filmmaking in whichever form it may be. Can you tell us maybe anything about the film you're working on currently, or is it still in its early stages?
Yeah, well, I've got to get. I'm technically supposed to be in production now with it, and my script isn't finished, which is very dangerous, but equally, why not? So the sort of premise is based on so it's an idea, and it's quite complex, but at the same time quite simple, is that I'm sort of basing it in a sort of semi-future reality where almost Black Mirror-esque in its nature, but it's where people have become more introverted due to social media, to the point where they're hiding behind their phones, behind their screens, which is not far off truth in some ways, but we've now escalated to the point where extroverts are a rare thing. And now, because of that, the economy has suffered, people things, and this short takes place in what we're calling a sort of an it's called an extroversion program, if you like. So it's like turning introverts into extroverts. And this idea is that we do various different sort of, I don't know, they're kind of like different workshops, if you like, within this thing where the opening is literally just people screaming at each other. And we just do that for a really long period of time, with just people in pairs screaming at each other. And I just love, it's very much, I would say it's a kind of, definitely there's some lobster vibes in it, in that kind of that world. It feels there's a bit of a Truman Show element to it as well. There's a bit of, there's lots of drawing on lots of things for it, but it's very much just kind of commenting on that. And the whole idea is that it's going to be split into 3 parts. So this first part is just going to be taken back in this program, but what I'm wanting to do is to sort of, I guess, as a surprise element, which I probably shouldn't say, but is that the second part is going to reveal that this all's not what it was seemed, and that it is actually part of a bigger thing, and that there may not have been the things that may have been happening may have had some exterior forces controlling things, which is there's a lot of stuff. So basically I'm just focusing on getting this first film right. I'm actually writing the script today, and then hopefully have that done and dusted by end of play today, and then we can get straight into production. So it's exciting.
It sounds excellent. It sounds very fascinating. I'm very intrigued already. So please stay in touch and let us know how you get on with your new film as well. Thank you so much for sharing, like I said, with us as well. We can't wait to screen it as part of our festival. It's a really excellent film. We love it. So thank you also. I mean, I can appreciate you must be extremely busy, so really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to speak with me today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And lovely to meet you, and we'll speak soon again, I'm sure.
Definitely. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Take care, Jolyon. All the best, mate. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.